Sunday, we have a special guest right here. This is Juju. She's co-starring today. But anyway, so let's talk today about acquisitions and mergers and how you are able to, from an IT perspective, handle the acquisition and mergers, because like we know, there are multiple systems that you have to be integrated. And there's oftentimes a question is, how do we do that and how can we make it easy? Well, not easy, but easier. And so with that, let's start off by the first aspect of it, which is the telephony aspect. So if you currently, for example, say your existing company is with RingCentral, and you now have acquired XYZ company and they have Microsoft Teams. And so the question is, okay, how are we going to merge these two platforms together to have a unified communication system across the whole entire platform? And obviously that goes with, there's a few different ways to approach it, and let's just go with this one for today, is migrating from the Teams aspect to RingCentral. And there could be a variety of ways to do it, whether that's, adding because RingCentral is able to support Microsoft Teams. So, there's a lot of different, that would obviously be a whole topic on engineering and everything. But the biggest part of it all though is not having a duplicate licensing as well. Because when you're merging and you're acquiring another company, you want to be able to cut costs in a certain way. You don't want to have to be paying for multiple licenses, and you also though you want to make sure though that the company that you have acquired, that the employees are still able to be running functionally and fluidly. So whether that be you add the licenses with RingCentral and then you get rid of them with Teams or whatever it is, and however that ends up being, is really making sure that it is a fluid acquirement and a fluid integration. And another thing that is to be looked at is the idea of having a complete inventory. And so at TelNet, we actually are able to, and we do for so many of our customers, is building that complete detailed inventory, so you know exactly what you have, what the company you're acquiring has, and then let's take that together and now let's build a complete inventory of what is going to be the environment today with the merger and the acquisition. And it takes a lot of resources and energy if you don't currently have that today. So that is we're here to help save time. And one thing, and I always say this, is most valuable asset you can ever have is time, because at the end of the day, it's the one thing you can't get back. So with that, okay, that's the first part, UCaaS. And then now let's go into contact center. And with contact center is obviously it's part of the telephony piece. However, it is usually, for most companies, it's the way that the current customers are able to contact you. And this is huge, because if you aren't able to provide that service to your customers, you aren't going to have happy customers. And at the end of the day, what I always say is that that the customer's experience and their success should be the top priority for myself and for you. And so if they're not able to communicate fluidly, then how are you able to support them? So if you have a contact center solution and the company you're acquiring has a contact center solution, how are you going to migrate that together? How are you going to port those numbers over? Or are you going to use, their contact center? Or, are you on-prem, they're in the cloud? How are we going to really create a fluid motion? And kind of where I'm going with all of this though as well is, making sure that if you know that you are going to be acquiring businesses as well, or that is at the top of the priority list, set yourself up for success first. If you're on an on-prem system and it's obviously starting to get outdated, or even if it's not even being able to effectively help your customers today, upgrade to these, there's so many different cloud solutions that can make these transitions and these mergers so much more fluid. For example, like UCaaS or CCaaS, is being able to set yourself up for success in the beginning to make that transition easy and fluid. And that way you're able to continue to satisfy your customers, and you're able to satisfy your employees and the employees of the acquired company as well, making sure that they aren't having systems that aren't working or that aren't being integrated well. And so, the next thing would be is email. Email is obviously one of the, along with, there's so many important parts of, of your company and how you communicate, but emailing, whether that be you're on Microsoft Office 365 and the company acquired is on, let's say, Google Workspace or whatever it might be, is how, we're here to help make these transitions so much more fluid, and also making sure that, you're not just going with the company right now just to make that transition easy. It's looking at it in the long haul. How is your company going to benefit from, a specific provider? Or how is your company going to benefit from, moving to the cloud? Whatever that might be and however that might look is something that's so important to look at. And it's not just, and what I always say is, it's not just about what makes it easy now. It's about how this can help you in the long haul. Because sometimes when we focus so much on the now and the present and, really trying to focus too much on that, we don't set ourselves up for success in the long run. So, you don't want to be looking, 2 years from now saying, oh, we made a rash decision to get us somewhere because we needed to make a decision now, which I understand. But just making sure that it's a thought out and that it's going to set you up for success. And so with that, I have my page here just so I can keep myself accountable and just to make sure that I cover everything that I wanted to cover today. And so let's go into the next one, which is going to be disaster recovery and business continuity. So obviously, you company, you have your, disaster recovery plan in place. You know all of the critical assets. You know what the process looks like and how it is able to help. But then you acquire, another company, and they have all of their assets and they have their business, they have their business continuity plan and the disaster recovery plan. And now the question is, okay, we are now one company. How can we make this so much more fluid, and how can we create a true disaster recovery plan? Because you don't want to be, 3 months after the acquisition and scrambling to figure out, which plan is in place right now, and how is that going to be, how is that going to happen? And what has to happen? And now, like, once you're acquiring, is whole new set of assets, whole new set of critical applications that are needed to be ran. So even looking at is how can we do this, setting yourself up for success even from the beginning or after, once the acquisition has happened. So for example, disaster recovery as a service could definitely be of benefit and something to discuss. And now the next one is going to be cloud services. And, the question here is, obviously, if you have mission critical applications that are in the cloud, you know, how are you able to still be testing and even developing and making sure that these two are fluid together? Or, you know, do you have to migrate to another cloud provider? Or, you know, is the company you acquired not in the cloud? Like what does that look like, and how can we get there? And making sure that the provider you currently have as well is going to be able to take you there. And then the next one is network, which obviously network is a critical piece of any company. You know, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without network. You know, anyone can't be. And so really making sure is, you know, what does our network look like now, and what is it about to look like? And it kind of comes with the complete detailed inventory as well. You want to make sure that you aren't doubling up and you aren't spending, you know, twice as much when you don't need, you know, network A, but you need network B. And so with this acquisition is making sure that you know, and that it is clear too, is what exactly is being utilized on each network. You know, what is mission critical, and making sure that with that acquisition, everything is in place. And so with that is just, I think those are definitely the ones that I wanted to cover today. And obviously there's so many different aspects and different parts to, you know, the whole idea of the technology behind an acquisition and a merge. And so just making sure that you're able, that you know that I'm here to help, and whether that be saving you time or making sure that we're looking at this in the best way possible to set the company up for success. And after acquisitions, you know, there's so many times, and I've dealt with this even when assisting our customers with acquisitions in the telecom space, especially in the UCaaS, CCaaS space, is, you know, what does it look like for our customers after this acquisition, and how are we still being supported, and making sure that it is a fluid motion, because I know there's been times where it's not a fluid motion, you know, and so it's really making sure that you are still serving your customers and the customers that are being acquired, and making sure that they have the best experience possible so you can continue to create that customer journey with them. So with that, happy Sunday. I hope you have a great week ahead, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you like my little co-star.